Hello friend, welcome back to our English test preparation channel. Today it is again your PTE test of English academic content, and we will be sharing 10 questions of Retell Lecture. Of course, as the video that we share practice question for part 1 describe image, I will be taking the first question and then guide you on how to get the highest score possible in this question type, and then I share all the 9 questions for your preparation, so you are able to apply all our strategies and recommendations into practice, of course including how to take note effectively. And if you want the practice question for part 1 describe image, let's take a look right here, or the link in the description. And for more questions, you may not know that we have the practice platform for PTE test of English that has thousands of practice questions in addition to instant feedback after submitting your answers. For example, regarding the Retell Lecture, if you practice this question type and then submit your answers, this is the feedback, how it looks like. We evaluate your answers based on 3 grading elements. It is the same what PTE uses to assess your skills, including content, oral fluency, and pronunciation. For example, about content, if you tell a relevant answer to the lecture, that is how the feedback looks like. And if you deliver an irrelevant answer to the question, to the lecture, this is how it looks like. And oral fluency, pronunciations are the same. You have instantly detailed feedback, so you are able to check it in details, learn from your mistakes, and improve your skills later. Especially we offer like simple answer and upgraded answers. The upgraded answer feature will be ready very soon. It means like, okay, so here's a basic information for you. After submitting your practice answer and then you request for an upgraded answer, it means that we offer you another sample answer, but it is based on your original answer with a higher score. So you know that if you want to write this way, this is how you should do to get a higher score. That's it. And it will be ready very soon. And then you can practice, experience everything for free on the PTE Practice Platform. Okay, wait no more, let's do it now. I will do the first question and then your time to practice the next 9 questions. This is our PTE Practice Platform where you have thousands of practice questions in addition to instantly detailed feedback for all question types. I will be taking the first question and guiding you on how to face Part 1 Retell Lecture questions in detail, so you are able to apply our strategies into practice for the next 9 questions. Before we begin, there is something you need to know beforehand about Part 1 Retell Lecture. The first one is we have an audio lecture that the PT takers need to listen to. After finishing listening to the lecture, we have a total of 50 seconds to prepare and speak. The first 10 seconds are for our preparation, and the last 40 seconds are for retelling the lecture. And here is our strategy of 4 steps. Step 1, take notes while listening. Step 2, review your notes. Step 3, structure your speech. And last, step 4, start speaking. If you are ready, let's go to the first question immediately, and I will guide you through our 4 steps in detail. Step 1, take notes while listening. Regarding listening questions such as retell lectures and summarize spoken text, we have audios to listen to and take notes simultaneously. Test takers cannot wait to finish the audio and then take notes because we only have 10 seconds to prepare before 40 seconds of speaking begin. Therefore, we don't have enough time to take notes after listening to the audio. The first thing you need to know is that we have to take notes while listening. We already shared a note-taking strategy article for your preference, and we strongly recommend you stop here to read it first if you haven't yet. The link is in the description. Later, we will be making a video on how to take notes effectively while reading and listening. The second thing we need to bear in mind is the online note-taking feature. This one is designed the same as the online note-taking feature if you take the PTE Academic online. But if you go for the PTE Academic at the test centers, we strongly recommend you use a notebook and markers to take notes, which will best simulate the test. Alright, everything is ready. Now let's jump into our first question. Please pay attention when I take notes while listening.
In sports, there's a lot of talk about a magical place called the zone. You've probably heard of it. That place where everything clicks, where no matter the weather or the crowd or the sweat in your eyes, nothing can break your focus, where you just do everything perfectly. You sink every shot. Nothing can stop you. Now, when I think about the zone, when I picture someone in the zone, I picture Steph Curry. Do you believe in the zone?
I do firmly believe in the zone. It is the one time that everything kind of goes into complete autopilot mode. Steph Curry himself stated that in one of his recent interviews.
Well, if the greatest NBA shooter of all time says the legend is real, that the zone is real, it's more than just a legend. How would you describe such a phenomenon?
There's just synergy with everything that you're trying to do, and even your intentions have been validated by the atmosphere around you, where it seems like everything else is going right at the same time. You kind of get lost in that moment.
I just finished taking notes, and there is something for you to see. If you make a spelling mistake, it's okay. Moreover, in case you hear the name of someone, but you are not sure about your spelling, no problem at all, as long as you remember how to pronounce their names, because this is the question that we need to speak to answer. We don't need to write, and they do not evaluate your notes. Here we come to step 2, review your notes. Please remember that we have only 10 seconds before our 40 seconds of speaking. Therefore, we need to utilize this to review our notes one more time to ensure that we deliver all points logically in the correct order. Additionally, while reviewing our notes, we also need to think of how to connect them together. Most of the time, the easiest way is to use linking words. There are various types of linking words for different using purposes. To name a few, if you want to add more information to your previous points, we can use some of these. Additionally, in addition, furthermore, moreover. If you want to offer examples, we can use for example, for instance, to illustrate, and so on. This is a super crucial step in order to retell the lecture smoothly and logically. Step 3. Structure your speech. Actually, if you excel at English speaking, you can combine Step 2 and Step 3 together, so you have more time to retell the lecture later. Nevertheless, not everyone is that confident in speaking. Thus, we divide it into 2 smaller steps to make it easier to follow. In this step, our first job is to brainstorm the main content of the lecture, because we already reviewed our notes in the previous step. It is so easy to come up with the main content. Regarding this sample question, apparently, it is about a place called the zone in sports. If you are in that zone, you can do things perfectly. The next task is to think of how to style your answer. There are some ways that we strongly recommend PTE takers apply to practice. The lecture is about something. This is a lecture of something. Or the main content of the lecture is about something. Again, in order to connect all points in your notes coherently and deliver a smooth speech, we need to put linking words into use. There are existing categories that you can check on our PTE Practice Platform with your premium accounts. Besides, we also have the idioms and collocation list to expand your vocabulary. In addition to your vocab list, which, if you duplicate any words, will be automatically added to your list right away. Back to our sample question. Let's use one of the opening statements to start our speech. We can say something like, the lecture is about a place called the zone in the sports industry. If we are in that zone, we are able to do things perfectly regardless of the outside environment. In other words, nothing can break our focus, and we can strive for the greatest. Now it's time to start speaking in step 4. Please listen to my sample answer carefully and check our instantly detailed feedback at the end of it. It is a lecture about a place called the zone in sports. The female speaker shared that if we are in that zone, nothing can break our focus. Here's our feedback after submitting your practice answer. We evaluate your answers based on content, oral fluency, and pronunciation. Of course, we use the same grading elements as Pearson uses to assess test taker skills in order to provide the most suitable feedback for your improvement. And now let's check the detailed feedback. Here's the content element. If test takers retell the lecture relevantly, feedback will look like this. Regarding oral fluency, it evaluates your rhythm, word stresses, and phrasing. On top of that is pronunciation feedback, where we assess all your word pronunciation to provide scores for each of them. If you get less than 70%, the words are highlighted in red. If the words are highlighted in orange, your scores are from 71 to less than 85%. Greater than that, test takers can click the detail buttons to check each word's phoneme scores like this. From this feedback, PTE takers are able to learn from their pronunciation mistakes and revise them later. So that's basically everything about our strategy. Please remember to apply 4-step strategy into practicing the next 9 questions. If you are ready, let's hit it now.
Has anyone here been to Fresno? Okay, good. Because that's where I'm from, where I was born, and where I live today. For those of you who are less familiar, Fresno and the entire Central Valley of California is a place that's built by agriculture. Miles and miles of farmland for as far as the eye can see, with a couple of large, poor cities dotting the landscape. My family, akin to much of the local population, is a family of immigrant farm laborers. Those toiling away in the fields hoping for a 25 cents an hour raise. I didn't see myself destined for the glamour of Silicon Valley, but I did find my way to college, and something miraculous happened. I got a job in technology. And I remember the first time I didn't have to count the change when it came to trying to figure out how much to tip for pizza delivery. That was when I realized that this industry, the technology industry, was going to alter my life forever.
From Fresno in California's Central Valley, the speaker's immigrant family knew backbreaking toil in the fields, hoping for a 25 cents hourly raise. Silicon Valley's allure felt remote, yet higher education proved a game changer, leading to them securing a tech job. In addition to that, life-altering moment came when they no longer had to painstakingly count change for pizza tips. Thus, this emphasized the tech industry's profound impact. Fresno, a vast landscape of farmland with a myriad of pockets of poverty, frames their journey.
I've moved about 20 times in my life. Moreover, each time that I move to a new neighborhood, a new city, or a new country, it seems to get harder and harder to sustain the friendships I left behind. Nonetheless, right now, sustaining those friendships seems especially important and especially difficult. So I'm wondering what is manageable. How can I keep those friendships afloat without getting overwhelmed? In order to find out, I turn to my two most trusted sources, Data and my mom. Now, since she hates being on camera, this puppet is going to be as good as it gets. But before she weighs in, I wanted to look at the studies on how friendships fall apart in the hopes that I might be able to avoid some of those pitfalls. According to one study, friendships often dissolve because of a lack of opportunities to meet, hang out, and connect. This may explain why, after a year of isolation, some of my friendships feel like they're hanging on by a thread. The same researcher made headlines with the finding that we lose half of our friendships every 7 years.
With 20 relocations under their belt, the speaker grapples with the mounting challenge of preserving friendships during moves. Amid the current need to sustain connections, they turn to Data and their camera-shy mom for guidance. Studies highlight how friendships tend to fray due to limited opportunities for interaction, a concern exacerbated by a year of isolation. Furthermore, research reveals that, on average, we lose half our friendships every 7 years, adding to the complexity of preserving these bonds.
So here's how to disrupt bias in 3 steps. The first step is to create a shared vocabulary. Sometimes bias shows up in big, embarrassing gaffes, but more often it comes out in the little words and phrases we choose, which are packed with assumptions. In meetings, especially, these often go unnoticed or, even worse, people notice but don't know what to say. That's why we recommend coming up with a shared word or phrase that everyone agrees to use to disrupt biased attitudes or behaviors. Examples teams are using are bias alert, stoplight, or even throwing up a peace sign.
Leaders often ask us to give them the right words, but the best words are the ones your team will actually say, not the ones that leaders impose. So talk to your team. My very favorite is the one that you recommended, Trier. Purple flag. When someone says or does something biased, we'll say, purple flag. Maybe we'll even wave a purple flag. It's not a red flag. It's a friendly purple flag.
It helps us become more aware of our blind spots, and not rush into any unwanted mistakes.
That is what the purple flag can do to assist us in our lives.
The speakers outline a 3-step plan to combat bias. Step 1 involves getting everyone on the same page to uncover subtle biases that might fly under the radar in everyday language, particularly in meetings. After that, he recommended terms include bias alert, stoplight, or a peace sign gesture. Additionally, the other person strongly emphasizes team-endorsed language over top-down directives and praises the purple flag as a friendly reminder in order to address biases and increase awareness of blind spots.
When we think about data, we usually think about averages. Average height, average salary, average number of hours spent on video calls. It's tempting to focus on these neat little summaries of our world. But the world is a lot messier than these averages can make it out to be. So instead, I look for the outliers. They can offer a better reflection of this chaos we call life. And they can offer a different perspective on the things that we think we understand. Take, for instance, the stats around teens and cigarettes. According to the CDC, between 1997 and 2019, the percentage of American high school students who smoked plummeted from 36% to just 6%. That seems like a pretty big win, but when you break apart the data and look at the outliers, it is a totally different picture. Among American Indian and Native Alaskan students, cigarette usage is much higher than that 6% average. It comes in at a sizable 21%. All other racial and ethnic groups were in the single digits.
In the realm of data, people typically gravitate toward averages, seeking neat summaries of life's complexities. However, the outliers offer a different lens, revealing the fly in the ointment in what we think we understand. Take teen smoking statistics, for instance. While overall cigarette use has gone up in smoke, American Indian and Native Alaskan students remain a different kettle of fish, with a substantial 21% still lighting up, in contrast to other groups lingering in the single digits.
Hi, Katie. Welcome to my show.
Thank you, Lily. Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you. I would love it if, for those of us who are not astrophysicists, you could return and help us give a little refresher on how the universe began and how we know that.
We know actually quite a lot about the early universe and its beginning because we can actually see it. And this is the wildest part of astronomy, that we can see the beginning of the universe. So the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. And when we look out into the cosmos, we see distant galaxies. And when we look at the distant ones, they're all moving away from us. And so for a long time, there's been this idea that, well, if the galaxies are moving away from us now, they must have been closer in the past. The universe in the past must have been smaller in some sense, hotter and denser, everything packed into less space. And that's the Big Bang Theory, the idea that the universe was smaller, denser, and hotter in the past. And we got really direct evidence of that in the 1960s when we're able to actually see the light from the very early universe.
Lily greets Katie, requesting a quick rundown of the universe's beginnings. Therefore, Katie explains that we've learned a lot because we can witness it in action, an astronomical marvel. The universe, aged at 13.8 billion years, displays distant galaxies moving away from us. This led to the notion that the universe was once smaller, denser, and hotter, consequently, birthing the Big Bang Theory. Concrete proof emerged in the 1960s when scientists spotted light from the early universe.
In 2009, a satellite circled Earth, methodically scanning and sorting the wavelengths reflecting off the planet's surface. Researchers were looking for the spectral signature of carbon dioxide when they noticed something baffling, an unexpected wavelength of unknown origin. They tried looking at Earth with only this wavelength and saw the planet covered in a red hue of varying intensity. This couldn't have been reflected sunlight because it was a wavelength that never escaped the sun's outer atmosphere. And it didn't correspond with densely populated areas, suggesting it wasn't human-made either. In fact, it was emanating from places with lots of plants, the Amazon basin, northern evergreen forests, and croplands of the Midwestern U.S. were all ablaze. So, what was going on? Plants and other organisms use light to grow by way of photosynthesis. But that's just one of 3 ways that light entering a photosynthetic organism is used. And this is the key to solving the mystery.
In 2009, a satellite, scanning for the carbon dioxide signature, stumbled upon a baffling anomaly, an unfamiliar wavelength that cast Earth in a red hue, unrelated to sunlight or human activity. Additionally, it oddly emanated from lush areas like the Amazon basin and northern forests, hence, posing a mystery. The key lies in how photosynthetic organisms harness light's power, shedding light on the source of this enigmatic signal.
Raise your hand if you're right-handed. Yep, that looks typical. Most of us, about 90%, are right-handed. It's been that way throughout history. In nearly every culture, the right has been associated with positive qualities, while the left has been associated with negative, or even evil, ones. In Latin, left means sinister. In ancient Japan, men could reject, or refuse, to marry women who were left-handed. In modern China, teachers try to force left-handed students to learn to write with their right hands. And, as I'm sure all lefties know, everyday items, like can openers, scissors, and computer keyboards, are designed for righties. In short, left-handers have been made to feel left out. Get it? It might seem straightforward to you and me, but scientifically speaking, the basis of handedness is not well understood. Most scientists define right-handed or left-handed on the basis of a person's preferred writing hand. But some scientists claim it should be based on the hand that is, faster and more accurate in performing manual activities, like tightening a screw or, tying a knot. Still others claim that ability doesn't matter, in other words, that handedness should denote only preference.
Around 90% favor their right hand, aligning with history. The right embodies positivity, on the contrary with the left's negative connotations, like Latin's sinister translation. In ancient Japan, men could reject left-handed brides, while in modern China, left-handed students may face pressure to switch. Everyday tools, designed for right-handers, can alienate lefties. When it comes to science, handedness remains complex, defined by writing preference, manual task skill, or personal choice.
Circulation is the number of papers that are read each day. It means that USA Today distributes more than 2 million copies of each issue. When other papers saw this circulation grow, they became worried. So, they started to copy USA Today's style. Their stories got shorter, and they started using lots of color photos and charts. They replaced quote-unquote serious news with feature stories. Soon, it became normal for newspapers to look like USA Today. But it wasn't only appearance that made USA Today so popular. One very big reason for its success was timeliness. Timeliness means its ability to report the latest news. Daily newspapers have a deadline, which is the time they have to stop writing and start printing the paper. The deadline often caused papers to leave out the news. This was especially true of East Coast papers and, West Coast sports scores. Basketball, football, and baseball games would end on the West Coast at 11 p.m., but that's 2 a.m. Eastern Time. This was too late to put the score of the game in the next day's paper. USA Today, however, used satellites to transmit news. It could set later deadlines, so it could include the West Coast scores. This, alone, caused many people to buy the paper.
With a circulation exceeding 2 million copies per issue, USA Today made competitors see red as they followed suit by adopting its style: shorter stories, vibrant visuals, and features over serious news. But what set USA Today apart wasn't just skin deep. It excelled in being aware of everything and delivering the latest news. Unlike papers constrained by early deadlines, USA Today used satellites to buy time, including West Coast scores, making it a hot ticket for many readers.
This is a segment we like to call an in France's favorite icebreakers. We do a lot of work with teams and we try to get them to start communicating honestly very quickly. So we think a lot about what are the questions at the beginning of meetings that's really create an environment where people can have an honest dialogue. A low-stakes one I often use is, tell us about a piece of art that means something to you.
Oh, good. I'll tell you the one that moves me the most, and it's a photograph that our dear friend Emmy took when she was visiting us and our oldest son was 2 or 3. On the weekend, we took him to the classrooms at the Harvard Business School. You know, not break into the classrooms.
Not break in, I mean it's really an overstatement.
But find our way into the classrooms, which have just magnificent layers and layers of boards, and we would rearrange the furniture a little bit so that he could stand on it and draw.
Anne and Francis experienced in team dynamics, share their cherished icebreakers so as to kickstart open dialogue. They stress the significance of questions that lay the groundwork for a candid conversation. Anne's go-to is, tell us about a piece of art that means something to you. Francis fondly delves into a memory featuring a photograph taken by their friend Emmy, underscoring the need to establish an environment where dialogue flows naturally, without the need to break into it.
How were the 9 questions so far? Were they hard, just right, or easy? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section so we are able to adjust the difficult levels of question next time. And if you need anything, support or ideas to do a specific question type or how to prepare for the PTE test of English Academic, let us know your thoughts in the comment section as well. Our academic and support team are always available to guide you through this journey, and we are more than happy to do that. And I see you in next videos. Click subscribe if you like the video, or if you dislike, just click it because it's how you see our upcoming videos. See you